Hi everyone. I'm going to do a Bible lesson on what God says about being rich. So we're going to read a passage in 1 Timothy 6 verses 17 through 19, and God is the one who's the most rich. He owns everything. Everything that you have, everything that I have, the whole universe. He owns everything. And since the Bible is God's writing, then we can trust that what he has to say about richness is the truth. So let's go ahead and read this passage. Starting in verse 17, it says, "As for the rich in this present age, charge them not to be haughty, nor to set their hopes on the uncertainty of riches, but on God, who richly provides us with everything to enjoy. They are to do good, to be rich in good works, to be generous and ready to share, thus storing up treasure for themselves as a good foundation for the future, so that they may take hold of that which is truly life." So, when we think of being rich, we usually think of money, but the author of this book, 1 Timothy, is Paul, and he says that richness really is a spiritual thing. It's not just how much money you have. And he's going to explain a little bit about what being rich God's way really is. So I want you to be able to think about your wealth in spiritual ways. I want everyone to view richness in a different way after this lesson. So the author, as I said, is Paul, and the context, the surrounding verses of these verses is when Paul is telling Timothy to fight the good fight of faith. To be a Christian is really hard, and Paul is encouraging Timothy to do what's right. And part of that is to be rich in the right ways. So let's get into it. We usually think that money can make us happy because money can usually buy things that make us happy. But Paul's gonna challenge that a little bit in this text. So, point one is that the rich's primary focus is not in status or how much money they have. So, in the first verse it says, "Charge the rich people not to be haughty." So this word haughty means to be like puffed up, and to think that your value comes from who you are and how much money you have. But instead, you're not supposed to trust in the uncertainty of riches, meaning riches can't buy us everything. It can't buy us happiness. But instead, Paul says, trust in God. So the rich are not supposed to trust in their wealth, but are supposed to trust in God. Why? Because he says God richly provides us with everything we need to enjoy. So God provides richly. He provides maybe not everything we want, but everything we need. And he also provides these things so that we can enjoy them. When we seek pleasure and treasures that are not the things that God wants, in the end, it's not going to be for our joy. It's going to create idols in our heart, and that's not going to be good. So God provides everything we need so that we can enjoy it, and ultimately so we can enjoy him and trust in him better. And then in the next verse, Paul talks about being rich in a different way. He says we're supposed to be rich in 3 things. Number 1 is to be rich in good works. What he means by this is when you're rich in something, it means you have a lot of something. So if you're rich in good works, it means that you're always doing good works. You're doing a lot of good things. And then secondly, he says be rich in generosity. Generosity, sometimes we think, oh, I can't be generous if I don't have a lot of money. But he's saying here that we just have to be rich in what God has given us, or we have to be generous in what God has given us, and that is good enough for God. Even if you don't have a lot of money, you can still be generous with your time, even with your words and encouragement. And if you do have money, be generous in that way. And the last thing is to be rich in readiness to share. And you also don't have to have a lot of money to be able to share. Whatever you do have that God has given you, be rich in wanting to share it with other people. So the third thing is that being rich in these things, Paul promises that it means that you'll have a good foundation in life. If you don't trust in riches, then you'll actually be able to trust in God. Trusting in God is the way to have a good life. He also promises that if you're rich in good works, that you'll have future treasure. Future treasure means treasure in heaven, stuff that will never perish or never go away. We can lose our money, but we're never gonna lose the treasure that God gives us. And lastly, he says, if you do these things, you will take hold of that which is truly life, which means that if we are rich in good works, if we're ready to share and if we're generous, we're really living life right. So as we can see from this text, the rich in this world must focus on God and be rich in the 3 virtues that I mentioned. Being rich in good works, in generosity and readiness to share. And our duty as Christians and doing these actions in life will provide us future treasure, and that will be worth it all.